Hello and welcome everyone. Released not even a month ago, Squid Game has officially become the most viewed series of all time on Netflix, with over 111 million viewers. Thanks to a skillfully crafted script and a team of actors very credible in their respective interpretations, the series has indeed been able to seduce a vast and diverse audience. But even if you stayed glued in front of the series for hours, you might have missed some very subtle details placed here and there by the mischievous directors. So make yourself comfortable, because today we are going to discover the curiosities that are present in the 9 episodes of the series, and that you probably didn't even notice. Let's start. For those of you who've had an eye for detail, the series Squid Game has been a real mine of curiosities and Easter eggs, these little cinematographic winks dear to the fans of the 7th art. But if you could not detect these subtle Easter eggs, it is not very serious, because we decided to reveal them to you in this video. And we start with one of the most anecdotal curiosities of the whole series, the famous phone number written on the game's business card. Indeed, to participate in the Squid Game, the players who had been selected beforehand had to call the number written on the back of the business card. However, this phone number is indeed assigned to someone in real life, which in the view of the mathematical probabilities is already a highly remarkable fact. However, this incredible coincidence will not be without consequences for the owner of this number. Indeed, due to the worldwide success of the series, many fans had the idea to call the number of the Squid Game, and of course, it is not the person they were expecting. It is indeed a young woman of 40 years that belongs to the phone number, and it is necessary to say that the poor one suffered the martyr since the launching of the series. The unfortunate woman is constantly harassed by jokers who call her in the middle of the night to tell her that they want to participate in the Squid Game. The young woman would have liked to change her number, but since she carries out her professional activity with it, she has no choice but to keep it if she wants to keep her customers. Well aware of the ordeal of this poor South Korean woman, who receives up to 4,000 calls and SMS per day, Netflix decided to act by changing the scenes where appeared this famous number, which went from 8 digits to 6. Of course, this unfortunate coincidence was totally fortuitous and therefore independent of the will of Netflix. In other words, the streaming platform will not be held responsible in court, and apart from the change of number, Netflix will not compensate financially the young woman. The latter could nevertheless console herself with the very advantageous offer of a South Korean politician who offered to buy her number for no less than 72,000 euros. Let's move on to other curiosities of Squid Game, which are at this time a little more subtle. They are in fact false connections and small errors of editing and image barely noticeable, and that you may not have even noticed. And if you've seen Squid Game, you'll know that the participants of the game are all numbered from 1 to 456, and each of them wears his number on his shirt. This makes it easy to identify them, but not for the Netflix production team anyway. Because we don't know if you noticed this detail, but player number 061, a young woman who was eliminated during game number 2, has been represented as a man on the dashboard of the game master. And that's not the only player misidentification, because if you take a look at participant number 88, you'll see that this old man is represented as a woman on the same interactive board. You will find the same blunder from Netflix concerning participant 331, whose number is assigned to a young man on the screen, or with participant 321. But don't think that these are the only notable errors of the series, because by carefully scrutinizing its 9 episodes, you will discover many others. If you take a closer look, you will discover that player 17 has a professional experience in industrial glassmaking of 123 years. We won't go on with the Squid Game mistakes because the list is much too long and we don't have enough time for the video. But instead, we're going to share with you some of the secrets of making this series, which very few of you have heard of. And you will see that this series is a real encyclopedia of cinematographic curiosities. In one of the most controversial scenes in this sulfurous K-drama, the VIP guests of the Squid Game are going to be installed in a kind of vast living room in order to be in the front row to attend the 5th game. We will linger on the interior decoration of this room if you want, because if you open your eyes, you will see a lot of details that could have escaped you at first sight. Let's start with the painted sculptures, which as you can see, seem to be part of the furniture of this room. But these statues that seem to be frozen in time are in fact real half-naked mannequins with bodies painted with animal designs. These models were paid handsomely by the Netflix production to play these roles of extras, pocketing more than $4,200 for 3 days of shooting. Let's go back to the terrible Squid Game, and let's take a look at the 5th event, the glass bridge. In this game, the participants must cross a suspension bridge made entirely of glass panels, some of which are armored, but others are not. Of course, none of the participants know in advance on which panel they will have to put their feet, so many of them will be eliminated by breaking the brittle glass under their weight. This sequence is definitely one of the most emotionally charged scenes in the entire series, so much so that one can detect a certain terror in the eyes of the participants. But you should know that this is not necessarily due to their acting, which by the way is excellent, but to a real physical fear on the part of the actors. A behind-the-scenes video revealed that the glass bridge in question was indeed real and that it was suspended a little more than a meter above the ground. The participants who fell in the game did it really too, although there were mattresses on the ground to cushion their falls. But even with these protections, the falls still hurt, which did not fail to terrorize the poor actors who would have done very well without this dangerous stunt. And speaking of the Squid Game challenges, did you notice that the Netflix production had hidden some clues about their nature throughout the episodes? Indeed, one of the basic rules of the Squid Game is that the participants must never know the nature of the games to come in order to ensure fairness between all players. But the organizers of this macabre games have left an unerring clue, literally in plain sight. Take a good look at the walls of the participants' dormitory, because you will discover small drawings that you might have missed. These illustrations are actually small, simplistic overviews of the game's events, which are subtly revealed to the players. There are indeed drawings of the game Red Light, Green Light, the Tug of War, the Dalgona Cookie, and also the Glass Bridge. But like the rest of us viewers, the poor contestants didn't see the light, so they didn't get the incredible strategic advantage that could have changed everything in the fatal outcome of the Squid Game. The most watched Netflix series of all time also relied on large-scale real-life sets to immerse both actors and viewers in this surreal and oppressive atmosphere. Instead of banal computer-generated images or special effects with green backdrops, the production of the series used real props and often disproportionate sets. You'll remember the huge, terrifying doll from the very first Squid Game event, Red Light, Green Light, right? Well, it might give you nightmares, but we have to tell you that this ugly doll is real and with the same monstrous dimensions. 3 meters high, it was until recently placed at the entrance of the Carriage Museum, nicknamed Matcha Land, which is located 3 hours from the South Korean capital, Seoul. Its origin is totally obscure and no one, not even the oldest villagers of the region, could say by whom or why it was made. The outfit she wears, which consists of a short-sleeved blouse, an apron dress, a pair of high white socks with low shoes, is a reference to the old Korean schoolgirl uniforms. To promote the series, Netflix had a similar doll installed in the Philippines as well as in a Seoul subway station. But although they are as horrible as the original, they did not give the same impression of uneasiness as the latter, which was even hidden from view by a large tarpaulin, as it was horrible to watch. Of course, the giant doll is not the most anecdotal element of the South Korean show, because Squid Game gathers even more surprises and curiosities. Did you know, for example, that the Squid Game itself is a game that actually exists in real life? Of course, the real version is much less violent and lethal, and although it is absent from contemporary schoolyards, this game was very popular with children in South Korea in the 1970s and 1980s. The Squid Game was then called Ojinyo, and was born in the context of widespread poverty and famine following World War II. Ojinyo had the advantage of being a game accessible to all, and which required only a sand field where one drew geometric shapes. The Netflix series mixes the folklore of South Korea with the scenario from the darkest nightmares of the worst sociopaths. But it must also be said that Squid Game was not originally intended to be a series, since the original script, which dates back from 2008, was written to be a movie. Its director, a South Korean by the name of Hwang Dong-hyuk, had indeed struggled to find investors to put his idea for a movie on the screen, but no producer agreed to buy his scenario because it was considered too violent and gory for the public. It took until 2019 for Netflix to announce that it would produce Hwang's script on an original series, not as a feature film as originally planned. A change of format that has resulted in the enormous success that the series knows at the global level. A success that was so phenomenal that some people even cried plagiarism in order to get the few crumbs of buzz related to Squid Game. The director Hwang Dong-hyuk would have copied his idea of scenario on the Japanese film Kamisama no Yutori, or As God's Will in English, directed by Takashi Miike and released in 2014. The scenarios of the two films have a lot of similarities, especially their participation in a series of games for children, the outcome of which is often fatal. Moreover, the first test of the Japanese film is Red Light, Green Light, exactly like in Squid Game. But the comparison stops there because in the Japanese movie, it is high school students who are chosen against their will by so-called gods of darkness, so that they kill each other for their good pleasure. So we are very far from the elaborated scenario of the K-drama, where it is the question of denouncing the social inequalities through players from different horizons, whose only common point is the lack of money. And that's it for today. What do you think of the Squid Game series and its little secrets and curiosities present throughout its 9 episodes? Tell us in the comments, and if you liked this video, don't forget to put a like and subscribe and activate the notifications. See you soon for new discoveries out of the ordinary.